Hey, look out, we're talking about the most boring topic that any small business owner can face, cybersecurity, especially on your website. But it's important because some of us seem to think we're, well, impenetrable. This is Clickstarter, the Australian digital marketing podcast. I'm Dante St. James. It should come as no surprise that a pro hacker can break through pretty much any barrier we put in their way. Like a professional thief, they can get past any amount of security to get into your home. These things called zero-day attacks, which are things that happen before your antivirus can really get ahead of them, they're so common these days. So it's critical to harden up your website as much as possible. While that SSL certificate you bought or was included in your hosting is certainly important, you know, the thing that does the little padlock on the browser, the HTTPS, it's just kind of the beginning, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. So in this episode, we're going to debunk a few SSL myths, discuss the type of hacks that can still happen to your website, and discuss how you can improve an HTTPS site beyond installing just that SSL certificates, which prompts the question, are SSL certificates making your site hackerproof? Well, not really. When it comes to safeguarding your customers' information, an SSL certificate is essential. Encrypting their data in transit can help keep it safe from being intercepted by attackers along the way. You know, it's people stealing people's credit card numbers and that kind of thing. It does protect from that. But when it comes to these types of infections, attackers can still gain access to your website and your customers' details in a variety of ways, but it's important to understand how to present that hacker to ever gaining access through various attacks, such as, you know, brute force attacks, phishing, outdated plugins, themes, software, and so many ways that you can prevent this stuff from ever happening. So, in order to be as hacker-proof as possible, you'll need to account for the wide range of attacks that might come your way. That's where a thing called Pci Compliance and Ssl comes in and works together. Now, in today's online world, if you've got a point of sale system in your physical store, that might be something that you're very familiar with, PCI. But in the online world, it's critical for any website that accepts credit card information to be what is called PCI compliant. So usually, you know, Square or Stripe or even PayPal will do most of that for you. But an SSL certificate will help reassure your customers before they even get that far that their sensitive credentials are encrypted during transit on your website. Thereby, they're going to trust you more. When HTTPS is used, that little padlock that's appearing in the address bar is really reassuring, and it indicates that the sensitive info that's going to be passed through your website will be less of a concern than if that padlock wasn't there. As a site visitor, you just using the internet yourself, you should always check to see if you're using a safe site by looking for that padlock. One of the most important aspects of internet access is the use of things like antivirus, for instance. But if you're using a site that has that protection on it already, you're halfway there. Your antivirus can kind of help because bad actors could lurk around every corner, and there's lots of other risks that people get through websites with. So you want to make sure you have a little bit of extra security in there as well. But then again, you know, that antivirus software can be an absolutely awful experience, slowing down your computer, causing annoying false positive reports that are popping up and getting in the way of your work, especially on Windows computers. And they often do nothing more than give you a false sense of security. It all begins really with making sure you take control of the security on your own website, because we're not really talking about your computer being protected. We're talking about preventing hackers getting in and messing with your website, and also messing with your customers' data. Now, of course, site visitors are a little bit more cautious online than what they would be in real life. You as a site owner should become more proactive in terms of your website's overall security, both on the front end where the customers are seeing it and the back end where you're working in it. While a site scanner plugin is sometimes useful for that, like Securi for instance, it only really scans the front end of your website, and it might be unable to detect some hidden backdoors in the website. So it's also worth looking at something that regular website visitors don't understand, which is the back end scanning. And it's something which, you know, you probably don't understand it either. And while it does make people feel better to see some sort of trust badge in your website, you doing a bit of the work that's on the back end of your website, it's kind of like, you know, using a security system that doesn't just face the outside and catches the robbers coming in, but it also has something focusing on the inside that sees what they're up to. That's what we call a server-side scanner. And any really good web host for your WordPress site, if you're using that, would be, you know, They all have that. SiteGround, Fast Comet has that. I know that some of the big ones like Bluehost, DreamHost, HostGator, they all have that as well. GoDaddy to a lesser extent will look at that sort of stuff. They tend to just switch you off and kick you off their platform. And I know that the excellent Ventura IP and Digital Pacific in Australia both have very, very good server-side scanning that helps protect your website from the inside out. Scanning the site though, it might be important, but so is monitoring the traffic that's hitting your website. We call malicious requests, they're called. They have the potential to overwhelm your server's resources, which results in downtime because your web host will kick you off. They'll sort of try and block it, but your website's essentially going to go down. We all want 100% uptime and super fast page loads on our website. Now, configuring a thing called a content delivery network, or CDN, or a web application firewall, or WAF in these cases, will help relieve a bit of that stress on the hosting server and probably keep your site up. But it also acts as a middleman between the potential threats out there and the information your web server here. Free services like Cloudflare and Jetpack for WordPress are really good for this. And there's reasonably priced premium upgrades you can do that even do more, but the free version is really fine for most of us. Now, aside from these two big pillars of website security, there is a big long list of items to consider when hardening up your CMS or your content management system. And that's what things like WordPress and Joomla and Drupal and Magento and OpenCart are. Just different kinds of content management systems to run a website. This checklist that you might pick up from any of those providers also applies to maintaining a regular maintenance schedule for your website. Overall, you want to make sure that you as the site owner or as the developer of your own website or someone else's are as up to date as possible. Each system has its own recommendations on what to keep an eye on and what to harden up. And there's some excellent tools out there too. Joomla has the excellent admin tools that does a really good job of this. WordPress has various plugins like WordFence and Defender as well. So what do you do as a website owner or someone who looks after other people's websites to keep yourself safe and to keep your customers feeling good about you? Well, if you're on Wix, Squarespace, or Shopify, it's all pretty much done for you. You just change your password occasionally. If you're on WordPress, Joomla, OpenCart, Magento, Drupal, any of those, well, maintaining your website means facing up to a number of priorities and responsibilities. And it's a good idea to try and assure your site visitors and your potential customers that you are dependable and trustworthy, and so is your website. Many cybersecurity practices, they might seem a bit out there and a bit foreign if you're not even intimidated by them, but to the vast majority of people who regularly use the internet, they just expect that you're looking after that for them. So keep your language simple, use your relationship with your customers to ensure them that you're doing the right thing and looking after them and looking after their data, their purchases, and their cyber safety by being ahead of the problems that come with cybercrime before they even become problems. And you can keep on top of everything digital marketing as well in my news section at clickstarter.com.au. Now, get on back out there and help your Aussie business to get known, get found, and stay known.